This is the Harley Breakout, and this is kind of how much rake I want. Kind of the style of bikes that I like is our lower setting bike, and the rake and trail. Here's the specs. The rake's 34 degrees and the trail's 145 millimeters. So 145 millimeters in inches is a 5.7. That's quite a bit. Stock Norton is I think 3.2. I should look it up again. Pretty sure it's 3.2. And 27 to 28 degrees. So I'd like to keep it around the 3 or 3 1/4. I think that's what most Harleys are, like 3 1/4 inches of trail. But I'm going to show you on the board outside there. Just a minute. Okay, so we did it from the top of the fork tube to the center of the axle is 30 inches. But the top of the fork tube is actually 2.5 inches above the where the bearings are housed. In here, it's approximately 2.5 inches above the frame, and that's what's on my diagram. And so this is a 19-inch front wheel. No, is it? Is 19-inch front wheel, stock rim from Norton, and they're approximately 13 inches diameter to the outside of the rubber for a 19-inch rim. So a 21-inch rim is going to be about 14 inches. So that's how I'm coming up with these numbers, and that's from the ground. That's from the ground up. I've got the ground line marked down here. Where'd my pencil go? Okay, so 13 inches is a 19-inch wheel right here. This is 19, and you add an inch for a 21-inch wheel, approximately 14. So this line here is going to be in the 21-inch wheel. Oh, and you can't see nothing on there. Do that again. So up here, I've got 2.5 inches above the frame, and your standard line is right through the center of that. That line's not going to change depending on where I cut the frame. And down here is, this is 13 inches up for a 19-inch wheel. The tire will sit about here. See, rake and trail, everything with rake and trail is, there's so many things that affect it. That's why this is the hardest part. Once I figure out where this frame's going, then it's just a matter of assembly, cutting, and doing everything. But this is the trickiest part, because I want this bike to be safe and rideable, and and not one of these choppers with a 20-inch front end. You can't even turn it around in a 40-acre field. So the main thing what I want to do is keep this frame level. I want this frame to stay level at all times. I don't want to put on a great big front tire, let's say on a stock frame, and then your frame sitting on an angle like this. Everything affects your rake and trail. Even your fork, even your rear shocks. If your rear shocks are soft, you sit on it while you're tilting the frame down, and then you change the rake and trail angle. So it's all got to balance, it's all got to work together. Because my idea is I want to put a 20-inch front wheel on this frame and an 18-inch rear. A little bigger on the front, a little smaller on the back. So what I want to determine is how much longer my front forks are going to be, because I'm going to change the stock Norton rake is 27 degrees, 28 on the 850s. And now there's a 2-inch offset on Norton's. I believe it's 2 inches. I read these things a week or two ago and then I forget. And then, so the offset is the center of the frame where the bearings go in here to the center of the forks. And I'm pretty sure, yeah, it's about 2 inches. Pretty sure it's 2 inches. Okay, so the Harley breakout and the soft tails, or I think it's the V rods, they're 34 inches. That's about as far as you want to go. You go 35, 36, or 34 degree rake. You don't want to go any farther than that. And even like my son's 2017 breakout, it handles real nice on the highway. Like a longer rake is easier to handle on the highway, but in town, you know, going around corners, it's a little bit more difficult turning the thing around as well too. So let me just mark where the standard forks would end. The center of the axle is 30, yeah, right there. 30 inches. So I did this a while ago, like 2 or 3 weeks ago, or a month ago, whatever. So now I'm just thinking. I'm pretty sure, okay, so that's, hang on here. Put that on there. Just to show you that I got the degrees right here. This is a digital degree ruler. I'm going to set it for 27.2 or 3. I think that's what the 750 is, 27.3 degrees. Whoops, I just bumped my ass. I should put something behind that. That won't happen. I don't know. Okay, so let's go a little farther out here. Your mother, little creatures. Okay. Okay. I don't know if you can see this whole picture here, but this is the stock. This would be the stock line. If you follow the center of the frame where the triple tree goes, we go right down to here. And then with a 19-inch wheel, with the rubber on it, with the rubber on the wheel, it'd be set back to here. So that's your trail. That's your trail, and it's approximately 4 inches. So then, if I bring it out, if I rake it out to 34 degrees, which is this one, I don't know why, oh, it's 30 inches there. Yeah, this is my 30-inch line here. And that's my 2-inch offset for the axle. Because the axle is going to be on the forks, right? Not on this, not on this imaginary line coming from the frame. So that's the same with this one. There's my 34 degrees right there. The rake, but I'm going to have a 3-inch offset. I mean, it would be nice to do 2, but with a girder front end, even 3 is going to be tough. I have to make it pretty tight, and you want a little bit of a, you don't want it vertical because then you won't get any suspension. You want a little bit of an angle, so I'm going to put a shock in there, so I got a little bit of angle for that shock to compress. So with that, the trail is going to be 5 3/4 inches approximately. Don't want to go any farther than that. So the only way to reduce that trail, and I can do it, is when I make this girder, depending on the size of it, I can move this axle over this way a 1/2 inch or 1 inch in the girder itself. So I could have the offset. I could have the offset at 3 inches up here at the top, but at the bottom I can move this over 1 inch, and that would make it a lot more stable. Get it down to 4 inches, 4 or 5 inches. Got it all written down here. Where's it got the rake in for tree? It's on the other video on there. It's like 5 inches or so for the breakout, Harley breakout. So yeah, once I get this figured out, now that I got this figured out and I know the length I got to work with for that girder, I'm going to make a template out of paneling and screw around with that a little bit, and that'll give me something to work with, because this girder is the whole thing. Once I get it figured out, the template for it, I can bring it to the machine shop, Peter's shop there, and they're going to cut it out of like 1/2 inch plate or 3/4 inch plate steel. And I'm kind of hoping something more than 1/2 inch, maybe 5/8 or 3/4 inch plate steel. And they're going to laser cut it all out, and that's going to be my mold. I can bend sheet metal. Once I've got this mold made, I can make dozens of them, I guess, once I'm done. And so this is the trickiest part right here. Everything else is going to be easy. Even the rear end, I'm not going to go with a stock swing arm or anything like that. Or if I do, I'm going to spread the frame, put a wider swing arm on, probably a little fatter tire on it. I'm going to do some stuff at the back end there too. Solo seat, probably change the tube in it. I'm not sure how I'm going to do all that yet, but this is I got to start here. This is where I got to start. Okay, I'm going to make the template for a piece of cardboard first. That's what I'm thinking of doing, something like that. It's going to be kind of like the 1956 Harley Cub, was it called, or 46, or they had a girder front end with some bungee cords at the top, like rubbers holding it. I'm not going to go with this big hole in the center. I think I'll do, these holes will be all the same, and do 3 holes there. Yeah, something like that. I'll screw around with it a little bit more. See, this theme's going to be kind of throughout the bike. They sell a set of handlebars that's actually very similar to this with holes in it for Harleys. I'm going to put on there. And I may do something with the backbone. I don't know how well it's going to turn up on the camera there. This drawing's pretty light, but I'm just kind of sketching out ideas. And with the grease on there. I got a couple of these dog bones off of a dirt bike suspension. They're too big. They should be about half that length, but just to give you an idea, you know, it's going to be something like that. But if you have too long of a dog bone, it's going to push that offset out. Like here, you could have like a 2 or 3 inch offset. By the time you get out to here, you could have a 5 inch offset. So if you have a shorter dog bone, you know, you're going to be more consistent with that offset. So I need an offset. I need to make some of these about. This is just aluminum too. It's too lightweight. So about half that length, and ideally, I think it should be about like that here, and then put a shock absorber from here to up here, because this isn't going to move, right? This is going to be permanent, and then the shock will compress as this comes up. So that's kind of the idea. There's so many variables, you know, it's kind of trial and error. And like I say, this is the hardest part. you know, if I knew how to work a CAD on a computer and was an engineer and knew all the degrees and angles, and to me, I got to build it, try it, and hands-on. That's the only way I can do it. You know, I'm not an engineer, mechanical engineer, anything like that. But if I keep degrees and angles and rakes within specs, you know, it should be reasonably safe and handle all right. Like, it's mostly going to be a show bike anyways, but I want to be able to drive a little bit. And yeah, so when I get to the shock area in this hole here, it's going to be a little trickier. But you know, I can custom fit a shock too. I can cut it down a little bit. Whatever I got to do, I can make it work. It's all different ways of doing it, but this is kind of the idea anyways. Dog bone in there, dog bone in here. So that's where I'm starting. So the next thing, I'm going to make a template. And I'll just punch in a couple of the pivot holes, none of these other holes. And I'll make 2 of them. And then I'll hold it on the frame over there, make up some wooden dog bones, and try some different angles. Get it pivoting. I'll make a mechanical model out of wood. And that'll get me pretty close again, a little bit closer. I can move stuff around. And that's how I think I'm going to do it. This is a lot more work than need be. I could go buy a Springer front end for $400, 34 inches from here to there, already pre-made. You can buy brand new out of China for $500. But I see some around for $400, $450, $500. I could bolt it on, I could be done this thing. I could be done, but that's not the fun of it. The fun of it is having something personal, one of a kind, and your own kind of design, and that's the artistic value to it. It's kind of like what I like to do, Bill. I just wish I had a little bit. I wish I had a lathe and you know, a few more machining tools, and not have to rely on other people. But I'm gonna have to. Okay, that's going to be it for the start of this Brat motorcycle. The next one, I'm going to make some wood templates and try it out.